Hey guys, found a beautiful section of trees and stuff, but we are on a road. You're probably gonna hear a couple cars go by. Still, perfect environment to review the 2018 BULLS Lacuba EVO 45S. So for 2017, this was just the Lacuba EVO 45S. Not sure. They just added that letter for 2018, and they've changed a few things. They actually reduced the price by $500, which is not bad at all. They did have to downspec some things like the suspension. The tires here, there's a CST. They don't have like the puncture protection they used to have. The battery, the motor, they're still the same. It's the Brose TF. Trekking fast is what some people have gleaned from that little letter designation. I'm not really sure. Still puts out up to 90 Newton meters of torque. So for $38.99, you're getting a speed pedelec that comes in 3 different frame styles. This is the Wave, but they also have what they call step-thru. I call it mid-step, and then high step or diamond. Still got great CST plastic fenders. Going to be pretty durable, but maybe a little bit louder because they're plastic. We've got an awesome rack back here with pannier blockers and kind of that hanger that's extruded a little bit. It's not quite in line. Sometimes I've had trouble with certain panniers having enough space to actually have them click on. It does have the iRack interface. I don't see a lot of those accessories in the United States, but possibly in Europe. And then they got that spring latch. And of course, integrated lights. So we've got the Muller top light line E, and this one's wired in. So when you pull the brake levers up here, it actually goes super bright. And that's nice, especially if you're going fast. I'm not sure I would expect to see this little license plate light thing in the United States. This is like a pre-production bike, so a few things are off, including the brakes. So these are Magura MT5, actually MT4. And apparently it's gonna have Tektro Dorado instead. Should still have that wire to send signals to get that brake light illuminating. Should still have 203 millimeter rotors, with probably dual piston calipers. I can't really say because I'm not looking at them, but I was really impressed. I mean, these are pretty big rotors. These ones say 180, but again, 203 is what the spec said. I'm sorry that I can't be super precise. I'm doing my best to review this kind of on location. It's good weather. You know, it gets colder in the winter, so I'm in California, and this bike was available, and I was like, yeah, I'm excited to check it out. While we're on the topic of lights, we have this Fushan. It's just maybe a little bit more basic. It is aimable. You can angle it down a little bit. It has a reflector built in. Maybe not quite as many lumens as like some of the Supernova lights. And again, the plastic housing, maybe not quite as tough, but I like that it's on the handlebars up here versus on the arch for the suspension, because that area can bounce around. And we're probably going to hear that when we're riding later and just, you know, listen for the fenders bouncing. You don't want the light bouncing too. So I think that's a great location for mounting it. Still got the tapered head tube. So if you are someone who wants to upgrade your suspension, it comes with SR Suntour. Not this model, I don't think. This is the NEX. I've got the specs back at the website. I'm working with the BULLS team to try to get all of this as accurate as possible. It's got a compression / lockout lever over here, and then a preload adjust under that cap. You can actually pull that off and then you kind of turn it. This is a spring suspension, so not quite as light as air, but it's pretty aerodynamic. It's narrower, and then I like that they've got these reflectors on the side. That's another kind of a European requirement, same as these brake levers with the big ball at the end. So they have a couple of extra special safety requirements, including an extra bright light in Europe. So I'm not sure this is quite European. They probably just threw a few things together, including the pedals down here. These are VP, and they've got that sandpaper grip. I think the ones it's going to come with are more like a Welgo plastic with like anti-slip rubber tread. So I think at this point we've covered some of the primary differences between the two models. The color has changed a little bit. It's this matte black with some red and gray accents. I really like that. And then the battery is still integrated into the down tube. Really nice, really clean. It's hidden, kind of like the motor. This is a stealthy electric bike, and the battery now has like a rubberized base instead of a foam base, which it used to have in 2017, and it follows all the way down to the front of that motor. You've got the fender to protect it from rocks and stuff, but still nice to have, and it's just consistent across some of the other BULLS bikes. I was looking at one of the mountain bikes earlier, the AM3, the E-Stream version, and it was really nice. I mean, it uses the new Brose S motor. It's definitely louder, but it produces more kind of a zippy feeling, more power, 15% more power is what they're saying. This one's quieter, still very smooth, very dynamic. It measures your rear wheel speed, pedal cadence, and pedal torque. And we're gonna ride it around a little bit later. But while we're down here, check it out. It's got a chain guide, so it's got this alloy plate on both the outside and inside of that chain ring. I believe that's 42 teeth, and then we've got a plastic guard so that if you're riding this step through and you've got pants on because it's cool out, or maybe a dress or a skirt, it shouldn't touch that chain and get snagged or greasy. Definitely something that I appreciate. And back to that battery, you know, yeah, it's really nice. It's integrated. Before, it sort of had a foam on the bottom, and it had this double step key thing where you put the key in and twisted, and then you had to slide this lever, and it was annoying and difficult to do. This is a little bit better, but it's not perfect. If I come over here, pull out the key, it's an ABUS key, and it comes with like a little code on the back of this card, so you can actually send in and get a lock that uses the same exact key, so you don't have to have multiple keys floating around in your backpack or your purse. Okay, so I'm twisting it, and then the battery, it just kind of, it falls out from the bottom, and it's kind of surprisingly heavy, about 7 pounds on this. So just be careful when you're pulling it off the bike. It does have these energy bus ports. I think both of them work. The charger, it's like 2.5 pounds, and it's 5 amps, so it fills this thing pretty fast, which is great because it's a 37 volt, 17.5 amp hour pack. That's 647.5 watt hours compared to like the Bosch Power Pack, which is 500 watt hours. So 675, I mean, that's great. Actually 650, so nearly 650, that's great. I mean, it's significantly more juice. Again, it's a little heavier, but these motors tend to be a little bit lighter. So 8.8 pounds on the Bosch motor, whereas this one, I think it's like 6.5 pounds. I'm not able to take it off or anything, but there we go. So I clicked it back on. I'm locking it. Pick you guys up again one more time. I don't think there's a cover for this, so water and dust could get in there, which is kind of a bummer. They do have a cover for the charging port though, so you can charge the battery on or off the bike. And yeah, you can see the plastic there. It almost looks like rapid prototype printed. I'm not sure if that's what the final is going to look like, but these magnetic ports are great because if you trip over the cable, it just pops right out instead of pulling the bike over. Although the other end of the plug has a magnet on it, so if you drop it on your shop floor or in the sand, it can get kind of iron filing stuck to it. Okay, so we're good with that. Note that this will have a cover on it. It'll look a little bit nicer. It's just that, again, this is a pre-production bike, so this side looks a little bit naked. I love that they've got bottle cage bosses built on right there, so whether you want to add that folding lock, maybe you get it keyed alike to the battery, or you want to have a bottle cage or a mini pump or something like that, you can do it, and you don't have to have bags or panniers, so that's nice. Also, the final version will have a stand well instead of a heavy kickstand. It's too bad because I really like these kickstands. You can adjust their length without any tools. 135 millimeter hub spacing in the rear with a 9 millimeter quick release. Up front, standard 100 millimeter hub spacing with a 9 millimeter quick release, so both wheels can be taken off and serviced pretty easily. The wheel size here is 700 by 38C, a little bit narrower, like 1.6 inch in terms of width, and 700C is 28. It's traditional like city, road, you know, a little bit wider, and it lowers that attack angle so that when you're going over bumps and cracks and stuff, they just coast right over, and it gives you some efficiency. It does bring the bike up a little bit off the ground, so instead of mounting kind of the fork and the dropouts being here, they might be a little bit lower if these were 26-inch wheels, but it's all kind of a trade-off, right? And especially if you've got this wave frame, it's nice to have an easy step through when you do have a bit of a higher design. And I like that they're not using a rear rack battery or hub motors or anything. All that, the motor and battery weight is right there in the center of the bike, which is right where you want it. 170 millimeter Miranda alloy cranks, pretty standard stuff right there. And then we come up to the cockpit. We've got ergonomic rubber locking grips, this nice swept back bar, so it gives you a bit of an upright body position. The 2017 version had an adjustable angle stem. They did away with that, so now it's just a rigid stem, but we do have some spacers, so you could lower it, raise it, you could flip it if you wanted to get really crazy and kind of aggressive. But my hands personally, like they're naturally like out like this versus straight and forward. So this is a compromise. It's kind of a relaxed, gonna give you more of an upright body position so you can spot traffic and maybe talk to your friend. Cellular look-in gel saddle. You can look right in. I think that's what they're talking about. A bit wider, more relaxed, cruiser style, 350 millimeters, and then 30.9 millimeter diameter on that post. So if you wanted to, you know, this is a basic spring suspension. It weighs a little bit more. The bike's about 55.6 pounds, so it's a little bit heavier because it's got the fenders and it's got the rack and all this other stuff. You know, but if you wanted to, you could add a seat post suspension right here, and that's something I think about a lot. I'm actually gonna open this up and pull it off real quick and take a look at this thing. So yeah, 30.9 millimeters. You just search around. There's like Thudbuster, Body Float, even Suntour has one called like the NCX, and that can really give you like a full suspension feel. And then you just want to tighten this up, make sure it's straight. Come back here like this. I like my saddle high because I have a little bit longer legs. I am on a medium-sized frame right now, so it's misprinted. It should say 45 centimeters. And yeah, see, it looks kind of high, but once you get on and you get going, it's comfortable. And then if I get off balance, I can just hop forward, and I have no problem with clearance right there. Okay, I've bounced around a little bit, but I guess we should finish with the drivetrain down here. This is Shimano Dior, 11 to 36 teeth, 10 speeds, plenty of range. This is good equipment for riding around town, riding through the neighborhood, and just enjoying yourself. Even if, you know, this one's set up as like kind of a cruiser, but if you got the mid step or the high step, like the frame's gonna be stiffer. You're not gonna have as much, yeah, kind of a bendy feeling. Sometimes frame flex happens, or even speed wobble. I'm gonna test that later. The point is, this could be like a trekking platform. You got this really high capacity battery, a fast 5 amp charger, put that in a bag, put some panniers on, and then back to this derailleur. That's decent. Shimano Dior is decent. 10 speeds is great. One of the other changes from 2017 to 2018 is they used to have 2 sprockets up front, but to me that just adds weight and complexity. I don't know if you really needed 20 speeds. It's a whole nother derailleur to be shifting through and maintaining and stuff. So I like the single chain ring, and I think that the chain's going to stay on. It's just really well protected and everything, as we were discussing earlier. And then this derailleur has a special Shadow Plus clutch. It's that gray thing. So if I click it into the up position like that, now it's going to tighten this up a little bit, and it's going to prevent this from bouncing forward quite as much over bumpy terrain, which might make it a bit quieter, and it might make shifting a little bit smoother. That's something you see on a lot of electric mountain bikes because, you know, you're on rough terrain. So considering this is a speed pedelec that can reach about 28 miles per hour, it's nice that you've got some chain retention technology happening back here. And then again, back with the one area that's the compromise that I'm less excited about is the tires. These Supero Optima Safe by CST. Yeah, they have the reflective sidewall stripe, which is really nice. So you get some side visibility in addition to those lights. It's just, you know, I like Schwalbe. I've seen their little demo thing where there's a cutaway and it shows that they've got this puncture protective lining. It's no fun to get a flat on a bike when you're going far. Especially if you're using this for touring. I would just consider swapping out those tires or carrying definitely a patch kit or something along with you. So I think that's about it as far as the specs. Let's talk about the display. One thing that's really cool about it, I'm going to try to turn it off real quick, is that it offers adjustable angle. So you can come in here and actually on the other side, see this? You know, you have to have a tool, but you can adjust it. It'd be nice if you didn't have to have the tool, because what if it starts glaring on you on a really bright sunny day? It's nice to just tip it. Bosch displays are really good at that, the Intuvia in particular. This one's very big, like the Intuvia, and I believe I thought it was removable. See if that's, oh man, I'm not, they might have a set screw locking it down. I do think it's removable. Chime in if not. Sometimes these demo bikes, they purposefully lock them in. I do like that it has a micro USB power output here, so you could potentially bring your phone and mount it right there, or maybe some speakers or an extra light or something like that. But yeah, coming back to, I think there's a set screw in there. But it's nice to be able to take your display off. It's nice to be able to adjust it a little bit, especially when it's this fancy. And then you're sitting way back up here. It's pretty readable. Go ahead and take that sticker off there. Hold the power button for just a second, and there we go. Well, I guess you don't have to hold it, you just press it. Let's try that one more time. So I'm holding it, it's off, press it for a couple seconds. There we go. Okay, we got it. A couple seconds, and it turns on. And it is backlit, so it'll glow at nighttime. Kind of a monochrome design, this black and then white or light blue once it starts to glow. 5 ticks on the battery up there, so that's 20% increments. Speed in the middle in miles per hour right now. And then as you click plus or minus, you get more or less assist. So we're at 0 assist right now, that's that box. And then 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars, 4 bars. And I think it goes from something like 120% assist, actually 40 or 50% assist, all the way up to 320%. So that's what those bars mean. I have the stats back at the website. And then there's a light button over here, and you hold that to turn on the lights. But because this is a speed pedelec, they just turn on automatically. And look, 30 lux. Okay, great. That's what we got going on. And then down here we have walk assist. So if you get a flat tire or you have to maybe go slow for a friend or push up a hill, you hold that for a second. And nothing happens. Maybe I've been told that you have to be in one of the levels of assist for walk assist to work, but maybe that's another limitation right now because the firmware is still from this being like a pre-production. Sorry guys, it's not working, but normally it does work. It did work on the mountain bike earlier today. And then if you want to explore some of the settings and stuff, you can press this circle with boxes. It's kind of a menu button, and you don't actually click. It's like touch sensitive. So I'm going to touch it, and it goes from time of day to range. That's estimating how far we can go in each level of assist. I love that. See how it's changing? So it says 102 miles in the lowest level of assist, 32 miles in the highest level of assist. So that'll help you plan a lot better than just 5 bars. So I like that. And we'll go back and touch this again. It says trip distance, trip category, calories. Okay, so how much calories we burned. Trip time, average speed, max speed, total distance, total time, time of day. There's a lot there. There's a lot of settings. And if you want to go in and adjust anything, I think you hold the light button here for a couple seconds. Yeah, there we go. And then touch the middle, touch sensitive to go through the menus. So do we want to reset our trip? No. Reset all? No. Lights, auto? Maybe we want to change that to manual. Okay, so I'm going to click that and go to the next display. Date, we can change the date. And time format, 12 hours or 24 hours. Time of day, 6:15. I mean, that's cool. So there's a lot. Language, English, units, imperial. Good, and then we're out. So that's all the menus. It's fun to do that, right? Like get a little bit of like a deep dive on how all of this stuff works. I think at this point, we're set. It's like a good chance to ride. So the big takeaways here are the bike is cheaper. It still has the same high-capacity battery, same great motor, quiet, smooth. There's a belt inside of there, so it's not just gears on gears. In my experience, it works pretty well. It's a little bit smoother. It's lighter, but again, the battery is a bit heavier, but you get more capacity. And I'm comparing this to Bosch because they're kind of the standard. They've been around a little bit longer than the other mid-drives in America. Yeah, that's great. Let's do it. Top on. There is no shift sensing or shift detection on this system. That's one of the trade-offs from some of the other drive systems. So when I shift, I usually ease off a little bit when I'm pedaling just to kind of let the motor back off too so we aren't grinding gears. Here we go. And it's quieter than some of the other systems, but you can still hear it. And I'm purposely in the highest level of assist, pedaling fast because that's what makes the motor the most noticeable in terms of sound. Whew. And it does assist you pretty well up in those higher RPMs. So you see how it was pedaling really fast? That's like rotations per minute. And sometimes when you pedal fast, these electric motors can't keep up and they kind of like quit on you. You're not getting full assistance. But the Brose system does pretty well. It's becoming like one of my favorite systems, to be quite honest with you. And part of the reason is because it's so responsive. So I'm still in the highest level of assist. We could still get that high speed power that we got climbing the hill, but this time I'm gonna pedal gently, and I want you to kind of listen. It's like I'm not even activating the motor. And I'm on flats here. You know, I'm just pedaling along slowly. A little bit of power. Yeah. It doesn't feel like the motor's out of control is what I'm getting at. It's very natural and smooth, and I appreciate that. Hey guys, the goal here is to put you down closer to the motor. I'm gonna pedal using different assist levels. I'm gonna start in assist level 1. I'm gonna pedal faster to give you the idea of kind of the high RPM, what it sounds like, and then I'm gonna arrow up and go to the higher levels of assist. Watch how quickly this chainring starts and stops, because there is a little bit of delay. It's not quite as fast as like the Bosch smaller chainring. There's a gearbox in there, and some people complain like, oh, there's some friction because of the internal gearbox. This one doesn't have that, so it's supposed to be like frictionless. But again, the chainring's bigger, so it might take a little bit more time to start up and slow down, and some of the gearing and the reduction gears are all built into the motor system instead of using a smaller chainring, which would optimize efficiency. I realize it's kind of complex. Just, you know, listen to it, get an idea for how this is going to respond relative to how you pedal. At those higher speeds, the frame does feel a little bit flexier, and these tires being narrow, considering how heavy the bike is, maybe not my favorite. I like that there's a trend of bigger tires, stiffer frames happening. I'm sure the experience would be a little bit different if I was on the mid step or the high step. But yeah, there's just, you know, I was only up to like 20 miles per hour, not even 20, 28-ish. So I'm gonna try that this time. The tires do feel pretty full. They say 50 to 75 PSI, so that is a higher PSI rating, which again translates to efficiency, but maybe a step down in comfort. The bike feels pretty comfortable so far. I guess the big takeaway is just like that frame flex. So I'm gonna shake the bike and see if you can see it flex at all. I can definitely see it flexing and kind of like bouncing a little bit in the back. And again, that's just the step-through frame. But it's easy to approach and stand over, and you don't have to go fast, so those are the trade-offs. We did it. We reached 20, almost 8 miles per hour. For a bit I was like, is the motor still helping? But then actually exceeded 28, and I could really feel it slow down just because of air resistance. Yeah, it's capable at those speeds, but sometimes turning and leaning and stuff, I just don't feel quite as solid and stable on this platform as on some of the other high-speed bikes. And again, I think part of it's just the frame I'm on right now is the Wave versus the Mixed U or Diamond. So now I'm gonna shift some gears. Here we go. Triggers over here. By the way, two-way triggers, so you can shift forward or back like that. Doing great. And then I wanted to do a speed wobble test. So the key with this is, you know, as you're riding, sometimes I'll take my hands off and coast, and I'll move my body weight back. And the idea is to see like how stable the front is. Does it want to kind of tip side to side and then eventually it starts wobbling like that? Or is it going to track smoothly? BULLS has one bike for 2018 that did have some speed wobble for me. It was the Cruiser E. It's like a white bike. And it's because that front fork is raked out and they've got a rear mounted battery. Most of the weight on this bike is towards the middle. And in my experience, it's done pretty well. But there is a little bit more frame flex on the step-through just because they had to, you know, you don't have the strength of like a triangle. They had to put all the metal and stuff into one single tube. So let's try that speed wobble test I was talking about. Pedal up to speed, ease back, 14, 15 miles per hour. Feeling very smooth. I'm gonna try to turn. Okay, yeah, doing very well. A little bit more. Back to those like larger diameter tires. There's a little bit of wobble there for a second because I was pedaling maybe, but then it tracked back straight. So I'm pretty impressed. Overall, I think the bike is working very well. I tried to go deep on this one and explain what it should be versus what you're seeing here. I hope this helps you out. I realize it's a lot of money to spend, and you know, you're looking at all the different choices on e-bikes. I've been impressed with Bulls. They've been in the United States now for kind of a few years. They've got more and more shops signing up. You get a 2-year comprehensive warranty on like the battery and the motor and kind of everything, and then 5 years on the frame. You know, the Brose system isn't quite as established as Bosch, but apparently in 2018 they're going to set up some service center, maybe in Seattle or something. So hopefully have better support, and I'm hoping to do some interviews with them and just understand their mission. It's a German auto company, kind of like Bosch. I think Bosch might be bigger. They have like washing machines and all kinds of stuff and automotive. I'm just not as familiar with Brose as a company, but I do like what they're offering. It's great to have just competition and variety in the space, and especially for a bike like this where, you know, I actually prefer this motor to some of the new Active and Active Plus from Bosch. I just feel like you get, especially on a speed pedelec, right? Like you're getting a little bit more zip and power, and you don't have to go up to that 28 miles per hour, but if you're someone who's commuting or you get one of the more active frame styles, it's nice to have. So anyway, that's the BULLS Lacuba EVO 45S. For the full written review on this, including all the specs and measurements of the 45 centimeter frame, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, have fun out there, ride safe.